Hola chicas, welcome to a new video. It's gonna be in English. I know for some of my friends who are watching that, it's a bit disappointed. They asked me to not make videos in English because they don't understand much, but it will be subtitled for my French viewers. But I thought it would be more interesting if that video was filmed in English, so that's why. So welcome to another video that will be in my series of Adulting 2110. One question that I get asked a lot is, how did I become bilingual, trilingual, quadrilingual, polyglot? So I thought I made a video explaining that. That's also why I have my laptop, because all of my notes are in this little baby. Just a little backtracking of my experience. I was born in Peru, so my mother tongue is actually Spanish. I stayed there only 3 years, and then I moved to Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands for about 6 months, but the national language there is still Spanish. So I was speaking Spanish only for like 4 years of my life. Also to note, I was in kindergarten in English back in Peru, so I was familiar with the language. And then I moved to Belgium, and here I was confronted with French. I was confronted with French at school, I got Spanish at home, and once I entered elementary school, I had Dutch classes. Do I speak Dutch? No. Ik spreek geen Nederlands, maar ik kan... I don't even know how to say understand a bit, but I understand a tiny bit. But I had Dutch classes till I got into secondary school, which is basically high school and middle school. And I had English first language, and then for 2 years, like first and second year of secondary school, I only had English as language. Then third year and fourth year, I had English and Dutch. And fifth year and sixth year, I had English and Spanish. I dropped Dutch because my high school was only giving 2 hours of Dutch going on to 5th and 6th grade of high school. I didn't know why, because we used to have 4 and then they dropped 2 hours, so I took Spanish and I didn't know how to write it. So yeah. With that, also part of my family on my mom's side lives in Italy, so growing up I would go on holidays in Italy, so I've always been familiar with that language. And then at university, I had English classes in the second year of university of my bachelor, only the second year. The first and third year, I passed an exemption test, so I didn't have English classes, but I did my bachelor bilingual, so I had classes in both French and English. So I had, for example, economics, communication science, corporate communication, cultural communication, international communication. All of these were taught in English. And coming into 2017, I got obsessed with a band called BTS, which led me to discover Korean culture, Korean dramas, Korean TV shows, and whatnot. And I started learning by myself on Talk to Me in Korean, the website, in January of 2018. I got onto till the 6th level, I think, but I got lots of bases from them, but it was really limited, and even though I kept on following the classes, it wasn't like enough for me. So this year in June 2021, I started taking Korean classes with my Korean teacher. Here's her on Instagram. She gives marvelous classes. We're already onto Sejong 4. We started Sejong 4 this week that you're watching this. We started Sejong 4. And yeah, I see the progression. I see I'm getting better and better and better. I just need to really practice. But yeah, here's the background that I have personally with languages. And also for a year in 4th grade of elementary school, I took Chinese lessons because they were being taught like after school Chinese lesson in my elementary school. So I took a year of Chinese. Do I speak Chinese? Do I still remember things? I know how to say hi, thank you, and I think I still know a little bit of how to count to 10, but I'm mixing it up with Korean now. So as you can see from my experience, I've always like being interested in learning new languages and things like that because I was brought up speaking 2 languages at home all the time. And in my family, we all speak 3 languages at least, I feel like. So we kind of are all familiar with speaking multiple languages. So there's that. But first, Inca Cola. Holy grail for me, holy grail. Okay, the first thing that helped me with my languages is a reading. As far as I remember, ever since I could read, and that was from an early age, but ever since I remember, I was like 4, 5, 6 years old, and my mom would come to bed to me, and instead of her reading me stories, I was the one reading bedtime stories, and she would correct me if I was pronouncing things right or not, and like reading correctly or not. I would have French in class in kindergarten, whatever class you have in kindergarten, and then I would come back home and my mom would be making me read my own stories to go to bed. So reading has always been a huge part of how I learned languages. As you can now tell, English is actually like my second/third language with French. They're both mixed. But for Spanish and for French, I kept on reading children's books. I have some examples, like I have the T.S. Stilton Aventura in New York, so in Nueva York, pardon. But I have that when I was a tween. To not lose my Spanish, I was reading that. And then I started reading Cherub 6, which is one of my favorite collections of books. Like after the Harry Potter's one, I think the Cherub one are my favorite. And then as the more I was growing up, the more I kept on learning more words and keeping up with my Spanish. So I read Orgullo y Prejuicio, which is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I read it in Spanish. As I got more advanced with my Spanish, because it is my mother tongue, but because I was kind of forced to learn French, because it was kind of a matter of survival. I did not speak French. Everybody was speaking French. It was like, ugh. So I kind of lost my Spanish, so I couldn't go up to read that when I was like even 14 years old. I read that when I was like 18, 20. That's when I read Orgullo y Prejuicio, because I had the vocabulary and everything to understand better the phrase construction and everything. But so that's the type of book I now read in Spanish. It's still fiction. I cannot read like psychology, historical things. Like I need fiction. So for English, honestly, thank God Twitter exists. That's how I learned English mostly. For the book I had in English, I have Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Then I have The List by, I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm really sorry, Chauvin Vivian. Then I also have books like Gone Girl, which I really liked. I didn't watch the movie yet, so, but yeah, I read Gone Girl. And the most recent one, I just finished this one today, and it's Crazy Rich Asian. Crazy Rich Asians is my favorite movie. It's my favorite rom-com ever made to this day. I like to alternate, like sometimes I'll be reading Spanish, then French, then I'll go back to English and whatnot. I have to say I'm reading less and less and less in French, which might explain why my French sucks. And now we have Italian, so I have Thea Stilton Il Vascello Fantasma in Italian. Children's book. It's really easy to start with children's book. And I also read Harry Potter e la Pietra Filosofale. I also have Dr. Stone Volume 1 in Italian, the manga. And for Korean, disclaimer, I have books in Korean. I don't understand them. I have the Little Prince, but right now I only have the French version. I think the Korean version is in Lil, but I have the Little Prince. And I have Tongyi Yoja, which is La Fille de Papier de Guillaume Musso. As you can tell, I have the French versions of the 2 books I have in Korean. Secondly, there are series and movies that you can watch to learn, or YouTube vloggers. That's how I also got better at my English. I watched Kian and Sam 13. That's what I watched religiously for an entire week, and I swear to God, after that I was fluent in English. You can watch your favorite show. I did that also with Gossip Girl. I used to watch it with English subtitles and in English. For English, you should start with sitcoms. It should be How I Met Your Mother, Friends, New Girl, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, these kind of shows. So for Italian, there's Baby, Tutto Può Succedere. I also watch my animes in Italian subtitle. I watched Demon Slayer and The Promised Neverland Italian subtitle, because when I was in Italy, there were only Italian subtitles, so that can help too. And for Spanish, may I recommend you La Casa de las Flores. There's also that show that everyone knows about, Elite. Elite is not bad either, but it's some type of show. I haven't watched season 4, but you can watch Elite. There's also La Casa de Papel. It also depends on what Spanish you want to learn. If you want to learn Latino Spanish or if you want to learn Spain Spanish. There are different shows for different things. Although Elite does a good job at having different accents in the show. For Korean, I watch a lot of K-dramas, but I'm not like, no, I cannot watch just with Korean subtitles. But I do tend to watch a lot of Korean variety shows, because it's more of a spoken Korean. So for that, I would suggest a lot of K-variety shows more than K-dramas, sort of, because it's more scripted. And for my favorite variety shows in Korean, I would suggest Amazing Saturday, Running Man, and Men on a Mission. And for K-dramas, I would suggest Weightlifting, Fairy, Kimbuktu, Healer, Reply. All the Reply series are really great. And of course, if you love V from BTS, I would suggest Hwara. I only use app for learning Korean, so I might not be of a great help for other languages though. But for Korean, I use HelloTalk, which is an app where you can like, it's some sort of Facebook. You can teach each other, you can message people, you can write blog posts like on Facebook, and people will correct your sentencing, and you can do the same with the other people you connect with. There's also Drops, which is also really good for vocab. Just gives you a lot of vocab to learn. So just showing pictures, icons, and saying what is that. Quizlet, which is more of you writing down your flashcards, but it's always helpful, and there are always people who already maybe made those flashcards, so you can go and check. And also I use Papago, which is the Naver dictionary, sort of, it's like the Google Translate of Korea for Korean, so I just use that app. So yeah, that's it. I don't know if that video made much sense, but people keep on asking me that one question. Like, that's how I learned all the languages I speak on a day-to-day basis and all the languages that I'm learning. That's my personal experience. If it doesn't work for you, yeah. But that's what helped me through a lot. But I have to say, like, I'm a huge reader, so that helped a lot. I love movies. But yeah, I hope that video helped you at least a bit, and I hope you find it interesting and yeah, helpful. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!